Are you ready to pack your bags and head out on a grand adventure? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Big Blend's Road Trip Radio Show. Let's find out where we're going today. Welcome, everyone. Today we are road tripping in Los Angeles County. And Los Angeles, you think of the city, but there's so much around it that we're going to talk about within it. We have Mimi Slawoff on the show, and her new book is out through Reedy Press. It's her second book. She's a travel writer. She is a Los Angelino, and it is called Historic Los Angeles Roadsides. And you can go to her website, mimislawoff.com, and that's SLAWOFF.com. I got it right, Mimi?
Yes,
Welcome.
you did. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited about this. Nancy, my mom and I were both born in LA area, lived out of the country for, most of my life, but as a younger edition of me. But LA area is just so cultural, and I love that you have the history there because it's so important that people actually retain that integrity of a place. And I think if LA took out some of those iconic treasures, it's got that roadside memorabilia feel to it, right? And still has that. But you brought in like LA County being a hub of here's the beautiful beaches and the coastline, and then yet you're so close to the mountains, like behind you in your picture, going to
Yep.
Wrightwood, and then the desert. So it's kind of you get a little bit of everything in the county and the city too.
Right. And the valley. So
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit.
and the valley. Yeah. It heats up a little bit in the summer out there
It
in the
does. It
valley.
does.
Yeah. So you were born and raised in LA?
I was born in Hollywood and raised
Mm-hmm.
in Burbank. My parents are they were first they were immigrants from Bulgaria. So I'm a first generation Bulgarian American.
Okay.
And my dad especially just loved exploring and getting to know his new country. So I think that's where I got my love of travel actually from both of them, but the road trips from my
Okay.
dad.
Okay, that's cool. So our family side, I know my mom was raised Sunland, Tahunga area, but was born in Hollywood as well. So that's interesting. You guys
Hmm.
might know each other. You never know.
You never know.
But you never know. But our family's got Hungarian, German, Austrian
Oh,
background.
wow.
Depends on what year you want to look at the country, just
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
was at that time. But my grandfather had a butcher shop, apparently it was for the stars, and he lived up in the Hollywood Hills. He was like some, famous butcher. I don't know. We're still looking up our history. Who knows? But
That's a
it's
story. Everyone's got a great story.
well, that's about LA is everyone is from everywhere, right? That's it's like an I think that's the beauty of it is that diversity, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely say so. And I always try to weave in a little bit of someone's story when possible into it. So in writing both books, Oldest Los Angeles and now Historic Los
Mm.
Angeles Roadsides, um, I would meet people and ask them about their background. And so sometimes I'm able to weave that in, like in Sierra Madre, there's this great Ward Ranch, the oldest business in Sierra Madre. So I spoke with third or fourth generation Jeff, and I love stories like that to hear how people got to where they are, family businesses that are still in the hands of the younger or the newer generation. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot. Everyone's got some kind of story. It's amazing.
Well, it's interesting too. I was listening to NPR yesterday, and they were doing a special on what was going on in Altadena after the fires, right? Which now I'm so sorry to hear what happened out there. We've been through fires, and it's traumatic, and it takes time. The recovery takes so much time. As you know, we're in Asheville, North Carolina right now, and it's like you're hearing hammers everywhere, like construction, rebuilding, yet some places still need rebuilding. It's just one of those slow journeys.
Yeah.
But I heard it was business owners, and these businesses were all generations, that had come there. And so in writing the book, number one, I noticed that in your book you really do spotlight a number of small businesses that are
Hmm.
independent. So
Hmm.
that again has that integrity and not selling out. You know what I mean? There's obvious chain stores everywhere, but there's businesses that are iconic for the people like you were talking about. But Altadena, I mean, there were just it's sad to hear, but people want to go back. So how did that impact you writing the book? Because this was, I mean, your book just came out and the fires really just happened not too long ago.
Exactly. So I had finished the manuscript, but the book had not been published yet. So I actually went back in and just added some information. I took out some photos of buildings that did burn down and won't be rebuilt because they're historic buildings. So even if they're rebuilt, it's not the same historic building. But
Hmm.
I wanted to honor their history. And so I included information about them. One example would be in Pacific Palisades.
Mm.
Will Rogers Ranch burned down to the ground.
I know that's so that.
That was heartbreaking. And it was one of my favorite places. And I spoke with the state. Um, they weren't sure at that point if they would um, like maybe they would build a museum or something, but they hadn't the plans yet. So I removed that photo and replaced it with another building in Pacific Palisades. But I included Will Rogers' banjo.
Hmm.
They were able to save his banjo from the fire. So that's in the book. So I like little things like that. Same thing with Altadena, the Bunny Museum burned down, but I was told
Yeah.
that they planned to rebuild. So I kept that photo in. So there was some, moving things around, making it relevant. My publishers were initially a little bit concerned, like, should we wait and publish the book, in a few months? And I said, no, you know, um, in a few months, there's not going to be that big of a change, and people have to either rebuild or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So we went forward and published the book, but I was just glad I was able to make those few changes and
Yeah.
acknowledge the fire and write a little bit about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's hard. Like for us, as as we travel the country and document parks, public lands, our landscape has changed over the last 10 years so much that we feel like we actually start from the beginning. But it is about keeping that history
Hmm.
alive, carrying
Yes.
that torch, and really respecting what has been there and the people that have done things, and also the natural beauty, which we'll get into a little bit for Los Angeles County. LA is massive. I mean, it is really quite a big, diverse county, and Los Angeles itself has, it's got the old 50s and 60s vibes in some areas, and there's retro areas. So it's kind of got a little bit for all generations, and I think now travelers look for something authentic. So if they had not kept their history in the county in LA, you know, as it is, I think people would be really bummed. And I think your book really helps people
Mm,
find these iconic things, and you publish some great tips throughout the book. I love how colorful it is too.
thank
Full
you.
color.
Yeah,
Yay, go Reedy Press. you know,
I know. I was
so,
excited.
well, LA, I think it's going to just go really bonkers with this because you've got great, tips and kind of that old road, Route 66 vibe in it, which I
Mhm.
love. Which Route 66 is there, right? So we should talk about that. You've got some iconic highways for road trippers to have those really fun experiences.
Right. And as you probably know, Route 66 celebrates its centennial in
Mm,
2026. I was excited to drive Route 66. Again, I really hadn't driven it within LA from Claremont to Santa Monica until I researched the book. And then I did. And it was just really fun. It was also kind of challenging because just like with Pacific Coast Highway, Route 66, the name changes. So it might be Foothill Boulevard, um,
mm.
and then it just keeps changing through Hollywood. And fortunately, I found an expert on Route 66, so he helped map everything out for me. But it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard with the historic highways because they go away, especially, then it goes from a name. Like we do a lot on the historic Jefferson Highway that goes from Winnipeg to New Orleans, which is the first international highway. But it kind of crashed. It's in a revival stage now, but because it became numbers, and Route 66 is a number, then it kind of went away. Wasn't that World War II? And LA's got a ton of World War II history. That's another thing that people may not realize, but I noticed you had that going through the book too. Is that
Yeah, I
history?
try exactly. It was an interesting book to write, more complex, more challenging than the first book, because I wanted to incorporate the history with fun things to do, but include everything along. not all of them are two-lane roadways, but most of them are, like Mulholland Highway, Angeles Crest.
Hmm.
Of course, Route 66 is not Pacific Coast Highway, but there is so much history everywhere. And so whether you're in, San Pedro, Long Beach, or even in Angeles Crest Highway, which I was glad to hear that you have been there. But the
Oh, I
first,
love it.
oh, it's a wonderful little day getaway.
And it's
Um,
like you could go to the beach just an hour off of the highway. Like it's
yeah.
crazy. You know?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier that the valley gets hot, and it does, San Fernando Valley, but the beach isn't that far away. You can just go and cool off. And so that's the other thing with the roadways, and the way I organized the book is so that you can either do one road trip, one itinerary, or you can loop them together. And for
Mhm.
example, if you want to do Ventura Boulevard, I felt like I should include that because it's so
Oh,
iconic.
just for Tom Petty, because I always hear that song. I remember
Yep.
playing it on, hearing Ventura Boulevard as a like, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I know exactly. So if you're on Ventura Boulevard, well, first of all, I don't know, if many people are aware, but Campo de Cahuenga, which is
Mm.
Studio City, right across
Oh,
the street from Universal Studios Hollywood. And I had not been there until I researched my book. And that's actually the birthplace of California.
yeah.
And there's a little adobe house. They have a little museum inside. I'll have a book signing there in about a month or two. Um, but yeah, that's where the Treaty of Cahuenga was signed, which ended the Mexican-American War. So there's
Mm.
history right on, Ventura Boulevard. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so from
Yeah.
there, you can go over to Calabasas and cross over to the beach. So, like I said in the book, you can drive along Ventura Boulevard and drive through the Santa Monica Mountains and get to
Beautiful.
the beaches there in time for a sunset.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, even the Pacific Coast Highway, come on. That's, where now Dead Man's Curve is in there. You got a lot of music history in this.
I
I was
know.
thinking about that, about, Mulholland Drive has got a lot of movie history, right? Movie, music. Everyone thinks movies and film in Hollywood, right? But then it's like Echo Canyon and all of that areas. And, it's the music history of the region is pretty intense. Are you going to do a music playlist? Kind of feel like you need a Los
I
Angeles music
should.
playlist.
You're
Wouldn't it
giving
be
me an
cool?
idea.
Yeah, a
Maybe I,
road trip. I think like a Spotify road trip music playlist for
yeah,
LA.
that's a great
Oh
idea.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yeah,
Can I
I like
help
it.
you? What do
Please
you
help
like
me. Send me your
I'm
idea.
I'm such a
Theme song.
I'm a music geek. I love it. I mean, really. But you think about also the festivals. I mean, people think about the big festivals, but you brought in some cultural highlights too. So, if you're going on a road trip, it might include, hey, let's stop off here and go to a festival. Or, you've got in the book where to eat, where to play, where to stay. When you were looking at where to stay and where to eat, were you looking at mostly historic places?
I was looking at places that weren't really a chain, and so
Yeah,
were
nice.
locally owned. Maybe some were historic, some not so much, but they were fun diners, like old school diners. And there's a place right on Route 66 called Stacks on 66. I don't think the business itself is historic. It's been around for several years, but it is completely decked out in Route 66 decor. I mean, completely with murals and photos and just everything. And so my road trip buddy, Donna, Sharoma, she and I had lunch there. We had the best patty melt. So I tried to choose little places that maybe people are not as familiar with. Um,
Okay, cool.
yeah, so some are historic, some are not.
And then you've got, okay, let's do a little beach fun because you have like piers. I didn't even think about piers being a thing, but they are a thing. I got
Hmm.
one in my background, Hermosa, but yeah, piers. I mean, Santa Monica pier. That
Yeah,
I've been there, done that. That's cool. Did that get affected in the fires? That
no,
I thought it. Okay, I
no, it
remember
didn't.
hearing it might have been or something, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
No, it was a little south really
Oh,
of
okay.
but yeah, I love piers and I love lighthouses. And so you said that's the Hermosa. I
Mm,
did include a photo of a surfer. There's a surfer statue at the base of Hermosa Beach.
hmm.
And then the one I almost put for my background was Redondo Pier.
Yeah.
Is that horseshoe shape, and that's a really pretty pier. Santa Monica is a fun pier. That's where you go if you want little bit more action because it's kind of loud. There's music. It's very high
Oh,
energy.
Venice Beach, though, you got all the bodybuilders and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the. I love Venice Beach. I think everyone should go to Venice Beach. It's
yeah.
just there's nothing like it. No
It is.
place like
Yeah, and I like the
it.
canals, which are just a few
Hmm.
blocks away. Those were in my first book. I did not include that in the second. I tried to not overlap, too much information between the two books. But
Mm,
yeah, no, the beaches are great. And so then what I tried to do, because I thought, okay, the book is historic roadsides. Now, let's say Redondo Pier. It is historic, but it's also more obvious. It's not like a
hmm.
hidden gem. So I wanted to include the pier, but I also included this little museum that I'd never been to. And it was actually really hard to find. Well, there were two. One was in Redondo and the other in Hermosa. And so that's the other thing I enjoy, museums. I like big
Mm.
museums,
Oh,
but they're better known. And the little museums are just so cute. And so I think it's Hermosa actually that has a surf museum. I don't know if you've been there.
oh, cool.
Yeah, and it has the history of surfing. And in Redondo, one of their little museums is inside of a Victorian home, and it's really well done. It has the museum itself. It's a small building, but they just have tons of exhibits, like 2 or 3 rooms filled with the history of Redondo. So I
That's
include
cool.
all that with, in some cases, like Hermosa, which I had the hardest time finding the museum. I had the address and I'm driving up and down, up and down. Well, that's because it was behind another building and you can't see it.
Okay, yeah.
I put that information like,
So it's a real hidden gem.
it's a real hidden gem. Exactly.
Exactly. It's like, well, that's what these guidebooks are for. And I think you kept things so easily to just digest for those who are quick readers. And here's go find your adventure. Here's your guide. Really, it's a true guidebook that, here you go find, here's a little background, here's a little history. I'm not going to give you the full story. It for our mentality these days, we're so overloaded with information. You did a really good balance of here's some photos and to entice you, here's the background story, but you're keeping it to bite size, that we
Bite
can
size.
enjoy. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
no,
think,
thank you.
yeah, we're at that we've changed as humans, you
I
know
know. It's true. That's why when I was working with the production department, I asked them if they would mind putting in little boxes for like tips or
I
things,
love the tips. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of just all text, it's broken up a little bit with photos and tips and
Mm. That's
extra.
I think a lot of people are going to use this to go do Instagram selfies and all that fun too. You know what I mean? Go out, here it is. Yeah, I know. They need to hashtag Mimi.
Oh, they should. Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag Mimi.
Mimi
Just
travels.
yeah, Mimi Travels. There you go. Exactly. Just do
Yeah,
hashtag Mimi Travels. I like
that's my
because you're
Instagram.
on Instagram, right? So
Yep,
people can
I
follow
am.
you on Mimi Travels with a Z. See, she's gonna
Um,
do her own thing. Oh,
on
that's
Instagram,
on X. Yeah, Instagram's Mimi Travels with an S. Yeah.
right, Instagram with the S. I know yeah, on X, the S was already taken for some odd reason, so I had to make it a Mimi Travels.
Well, you might as well be XYZ. Who knows what's going on? Who knows what's going on with that platform? How long it's going to be there? But Instagram still
Yeah,
going
I
strong,
I
which is
do like
good.
Instagram. It's always been really my favorite social media platform.
Yeah, because people like photos, that's why I'm so glad the book has photos in it, so you're doing a whole slew of book signing events. Is it going all around the county? So I was looking
Yes.
at this list, I'm like, there's no way we're gonna read that off all day on the show. But are they all on your website for people to be able to connect with you that way?
Yes, yes, it
Mm,
is on the website. And thank you for bringing that up. I would love for people to come out. I'd love to meet people. They can ask questions. I'll sign the books.
cool.
But for some of the events, I'm still working on it, a PowerPoint. I like to show the PowerPoint so people can see the
Mhm.
photos again. Um, some places like Barnes and Noble, which is actually my book launch on May 18th, they didn't really want a PowerPoint, but they suggested in conversation with someone. So Catherine Ham, the former LA Times travel editor, she and I will be up there
Okay.
talking about my book.
Awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, no. So tell everyone about a little bit of the like Wrightwood and those areas that, from LA. Like you've got mountain towns, you've got some of the like Pear Blossom and places that, I mean, even reading the names is pretty cool when you go through it. Like, where
Yeah.
is this? Where did that name come from? For all these names, a lot of Spanish, right? But and
Mhm.
some make sense, where Pear Blossom and where all these places are. But so you got to do some cool road trips, but that really makes LA a destination for vacationers to do things other than the big theme parks. Not knocking the theme parks at all,
Right.
but I'm just saying, I think people can go beyond the obvious in LA County to incorporate this on their vacations and have a staycation.
No, no, exactly. Well, I think that's really one of the fun things to do. A lot of people really enjoy road trips, just like a day road trip. You don't have to make it an overnight. And so
Mm-hmm.
we do have the desert highways, Sierra Highway, which is historic as well, and then Pear Blossom, and the two end up meeting together. But the desert is really very pretty, especially during, late afternoon or early morning.
Mm.
Angeles Crest, like I keep bringing up one of my favorites. I just love it. I love that it truly is a two-lane highway, 66 miles of
And you
beautiful
wind
forests.
around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it has like little side roads that you can take up to Mount Wilson, the oldest
Mm-hmm.
observatory in LA. But I grew up, my parents always liked having picnics at Charlton Flats and Chileo, which are
Mm.
wonderful picnic areas and hiking areas off Angeles Crest. So that's a great day trip. And then, of course, Mulholland, Topanga,
Mm. Oh
Topanga.
yeah.
Have you, there's that theater. As far as people stories too, just a quick little sidebar here. I spoke with Ellen Gear, and she is the daughter
Mm.
of Wheel Gear, the Theatricum Bocaticum. I never,
Well,
that's
it's
the
like, yeah, it's like a botanical playhouse.
Yeah, yeah. So it's this outdoor theater, open air theater, and there's a smaller one for children, and then the full size for, full productions. And Wheel Gear, when he was blacklisted in Hollywood, I think in the early 70s, he started this theater in 1973. And from its beginning to now, it's still a family owned and operated theater. And it's just
Mhm.
so, Ellen was just really nice, very open about her childhood and the theater, the shows that they put on there and how everyone, whether it's grandchildren or, everyone has a role. And I thought, I love that. Again, that's a really nice little family story. So Topanga Canyon is, if you're looking more for like a day trip, something more quirky, because as you know, if you drive through Topanga, it's kind of like a little hippie, a hippie road.
Mhm.
Got these cute boutiques and restaurants. It's that in itself is a nice day trip, I think. And so is
I
Mulholland.
agree. Now, and you got San Gabriel Mountains, Los Angeles Forest, right? So for our park lovers, I wanted to bring those up. So nature wise, I mean, some of the beaches are state parks, I think. Malibu area, and then you've got I wanted to touch on uh, Santa Monica. That's
Mhm.
a whole national recreation area. That's part of our parks, and that's our National Park Service, and it's like a collaboration of state park, everyone. So that's a way for people to get out and enjoy nature and history, right? Because there's history in there. Well, there's history everywhere.
Well, there is
Just
history everywhere. Yeah, if you want the history of Santa Monica itself, the beach, I mean, again, the pier is historic, and the boardwalk itself, or you can go into the Santa Monica Mountains, which are
mm,
um, quite large. And now I can't remember how many miles they span, but they have all
it's
these
big.
roadways. It's very big, and there are so many hiking opportunities in the Santa Monica Mountains. Uh,
Mm,
so yes, there's so many nature areas in LA, and when I'm on trips, people find out I'm from LA, and a lot of times people, you know, say they don't really want to go or they've been there once, but they stayed just like in a very concentrated area, and they're surprised to find out that we actually have a very diverse terrain, and you can go up in the mountains and smell pine trees. You can go to the beach. You can just drive along Route 66. I mean, there's so much to explore. It's just whatever you're in the mood for,
yeah.
and
And
yeah.
who you're with. Well, I was thinking about this, road trips are huge. And I see, from COVID, it started to really go up a little bit more about road tripping, right? And we're on a permanent road trip, but what I think this year we're going to see, and well, from the tourism people I work with, it's going up. This year, it's going to, over the next few years, I think it's going to get bigger and bigger in road tripping. What do you think as a travel writer and a road tripper as well? Are you seeing that the signs of that happening too?
I do. I think it just depends on so many things. Um, in general, travel is up. I was just reading the other day that, especially with senior travel, which, I'm in that age group, but people over 50, travel has increased from previous years and even in
Hmm.
pre-pandemic times. So travel and road trips are a great for any age, it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
family road trips, road trips, anything. So I think that, it's just without even getting to the whole political thing, it's hard to know how people feel about traveling outside right now, the US, but we have so much to see right here that it makes it a nice, safe way to enjoy. Um,
And economical. I mean, like you can just cut down on eggs, even though we're recording this on Easter Friday. Good luck on Easter, everybody. But prices are not going like away right now. So I think road tripping is so economical, and it's kind of part of history. To me, road tripping is Americana. That is a way of life. It is an American culture form. And if you want your kids to understand their region, and one of the biggest and most well known cities in the world is Los Angeles. Everyone knows where New York, LA, these are iconic cities in the world. So whether you're a visitor or, an American in this country or in that region, and for your kids, I really believe, like, family going with the kids in the car and you want them to learn history, most of the time you take them to history. And I think that's the beauty of your book. Number one, a kid could get into and could be, if the kid has your book, they're going to be telling mom and dad where to go,
I hope so. That'd be
you
nice.
know? Well, maybe not in that way, though. I didn't mean it that way. But
No, but
you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, is that kind of family road trip? I that changed me. How about you as a kid? Actually going and seeing these historic sites, because the history, if you're just learning timelines, it's boring as heck. But if you're actually in a place where you see how people lived and you go to these museums, I love community museums like you're talking about,
Mhm.
because you actually get the stories of the people of where you are. And if you don't have those stories, you've got no context, or I think it adds a layer of respect, even.
I do too. Yeah, not only did I do road trips with my parents and sister, but I have three kids who are all grown now, but we did lots of road trips because it's hands-on. It's so hands-on. And whether it was a day trip for, downtown LA or going up to the mountains or driving along the coast, and then stopping at museums. So like you said, it's not just learning, and books are great, but it's not just learning history from a book and reading about it, but it's actually going there.
Mm,
And at least for myself, I feel like I get a better understanding of history in person.
yeah,
You know, you,
yeah,
it just makes it, like my son would say, it just makes it seem more real,
yes,
when you're actually there and you're seeing it. So yeah,
yeah.
road
What
trips
what
are.
would for families, what would you recommend as, just some of your favorite stops that for kids to learn some history of the region that's fun, like big fun?
So, well, I mean,
It's all fun to me, but
yeah, no, it's all fun. I
somehow I want ice cream when we're talking. It's the beach thing. I don't know. I want ice cream. You got snow in the background. We got snow in the background. We kind of got half a ice cream. I don't know, but someone has to have ice cream somewhere.
I'm sure there's ice cream all over, all up and down the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah,
I
no
could just
kidding.
put a pier for my photo as well. But yeah, so for parents and kids who just want to have fun, I mean, it really depends on the ages of the kids, right? If they just want to run around more, just go up to Angeles Crest, go to a campground. You can see the
Mm,
first ranger station. It's historic at Chileo Visitor Center. So that's more like low-key history, but
mm.
they can run around and just enjoy nature. Older kids may, want to see some museums, and maybe it's the Surf Museum.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah. And then the one in Redondo Beach is more, there's a lot of, architecture. So people who are interested in that, they can go to the Redondo Beach
Mhm.
Historical Society. And there's a lot more than just architecture, but it's called Heritage Square, actually.
Mhm.
Two historic homes there. Um, and then Queen Mary, I mean, we haven't really talked about that,
That's
but
right. You had the Queen Mary there too. Wow. Yes.
yeah. And that has really great history. And I would recommend taking a tour there, which is what I did. In my book, there's
Did you get booed by a ghost? Because isn't it
no, well,
haunted?
I didn't go on Halloween. I mean, I guess that can happen. They have all those
Apparently,
themed
there's a
tours.
ghost on board. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think it'd be fun to spend the night on the ship, actually, so that could be something parents might want to do. And then take a tour and learn about the history of the ship. And Long Beach, just learn about the history of the entire, not just Long Beach, but the entire coast.
Oh
Um,
man, I got lost in the harbor in Long Beach.
it's
So
easy.
lost.
I know.
So lost. So lost. But we were going to go see a friend's band on it was a little blues cruise. And then they're like, you can't bring your camera on. I'm like, well, that's the whole point. We're there to film it and write about it. No, you can't. And
Oh,
I snuck it in. But anyway, I didn't, but I
well, good.
did. I'm not going to tell. But we almost didn't make it. But Long Beach has got like aquariums. I mean, that's some history. And I think that's the other thing is it's a city with a port. This is like
Mhm.
a harbor where industry happens. And that's where all kinds of cool stories come out. Any kind of
I know it's true.
city like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that has the port, and then adjacent would be the San Pedro, port as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I think one reason why it's easy to get a little bit lost there, I have too, because they're adjacent. They're, connected
Yeah.
really in one body of water, you
I
know.
think I did end up there because I remember we'd gone to San Pedro and gone sailing with some friends. And then I was like, weren't we here like last week or something? But that's part of I think getting lost is good. It's a fun part of it
It's
all.
exploring. Yeah, we haven't really talked about that. I should have brought it up, but road trips, yeah, it's not a matter of getting from point A to point B, right? You want to explore, stop, look around. You may get turned around, you may get lost. When my friend and I, Donna, that I mentioned, she and I were in the Eagle Rock area, and then we were trying to find the border to, Highland Park and, and then we ended up on the steepest street in LA County. And now I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. Eldred Street, I think. So steep that when you stand at the base, I didn't even dare drive my car up it because I felt like it would just do this.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So we parked at the base. I took a photo of it from the top. So we walked to the top. And there are homes
Oh
on
my
either
God. Well,
side.
how do you do that? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they drive their cars up there. We watched a UPS truck though carefully maneuver its way up and down. And then after it came down, we walked up to the top and I took a photo looking down. So I forget it's in the book. I'm not sure what page, but you stumble upon fun things like that, I think, when you're
That's
just
a trip.
driving around.
That's a trip. Yeah. And even walking it. I mean,
Oh yeah, it was a little workout.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I've just done a bunch of hills in Asheville, seriously, where one was like, I kept going, it's like 90, it's there, it's perpendicular. Like I'm sitting there, I'm walking a dog, and the dog's like, come on, man. And I'm like, dude, I'm dying. Seriously. You're not even gonna crawl me, like, no.
Yeah.
But it was good for me. It was very good for you. And I was proud. I did it a few times, quite
Oh,
a
I
few
was
times.
surprised.
But my car didn't like it either. She was like, no, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like this either. But it's amazing that people even build roads on things like that, you
Oh, I
know?
know. Yeah. But well, your car made it. I have a big SUV. I didn't know if I trusted driving it up,
Mm,
but I was surprised I could make it uphill. My friend is a runner, so I knew she could, but I made it too. It was really
you go,
hot.
girl.
Yeah, no, so proud of myself.
Yeah, you got to, but that's the thing is when you find those things, it's like, wow, what is this? And then you start researching and find people should just do it,
Yeah.
something unique. And that's what makes up destinations to me is all these unique experiences, unique places like the businesses. So
Mhm.
some of your favorite restaurants that you found, and you like the one Patty Melt, I know, but you've
Yeah,
got
I
some
like
historic ones in there too, just historic restaurants. You've got, oh my gosh, you've got so much history. I want to use your book when we go through again, when we go west, because I want to do some of the areas have the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail, just kind of on the you're on the cusp of some of that. And I want to do that part of it. So I'm going to be using your book because
Oh,
I
good.
get lost. I'll still get lost. I'll call you. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
lost. And you'll
Yeah.
go up that big road.
Go up that big road. I know. Um,
Yeah.
and there are also a lot of, I'm just skimming through the book real quick. The other thing about driving through is we came across a lot of lakes, things that I didn't really,
Oh.
and there's just so much water in LA, actually, really pretty bodies of water. Um, and so we enjoyed, coming across that. And on one trip in the Santa Monica Mountains, I'd heard about it, but I hadn't been there. I don't know if you have the Rock Store, but it's actually a restaurant, historic restaurant, because, you brought that up. And it's built into a rock. So it's called Rock Store. But we heard it before we got to it because it's a hangout for motorcycle riders. And so
Okay.
yeah, so we heard this big roar and we pull up, park on the side, and I don't even know if I could find it quickly, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
There's a photo in here that just shows all the motorcycles and the restaurant. So we stopped and, that was a fun little unexpected lunch, little hideaway.
Nice.
I don't know if it's a hideaway because apparently a lot of people know about it, but it was new to me.
Yeah, but that's the fun part of it. I think,
Mhm.
going in and getting, I mean, and that's the thing about this is we always think about road tripping in cars, but motorcycles, it's a whole other part too. Now,
Mhm.
what about lodging? Some of the lodging places for people to stay, because you're saying, looking at things that are not so brand hotel, brand restaurants, which, again, keeping that historic integrity.
Right. And so that was a little challenging because trying, my publisher didn't want me to include chain hotels. And so there's nothing wrong with them. They're comfortable, they're
Hmm.
great.
Yeah.
But um one example would be like the Roosevelt Hotel. I feel like anyone
Mhm.
who's been to Hollywood has seen it, but it is historic. So I did include the Roosevelt Hotel. It's just this, grand hotel with great history. And then the Mayan, although, so that would be in Monrovia. And I think the Aztec Hotel is no longer operating as a hotel. It's still there. It's a historic building. And I don't know if it is open or will open, but they have a bar and grill, the Mayan grill.
Okay.
Um, and the architecture is like, Mayan style. So, and that's
Cool.
in the book. Trying to think of other
Cool.
historic places to eat. Those two are, or those three that I just mentioned kind of,
Mm.
pop up. Of course, if you're in downtown LA, it's in both of my books, Philippe, the French dip place.
Oh.
Have you been there? Or if you like
Mm-mm.
French dip sandwiches, Philippe is a great place to go. It's in the
Oh.
heart of downtown Los Angeles. Um,
Oh boy. And navigating downtown LA, I think LA, if you take these side roads, that's where the adventure is. Getting off
yeah,
the interstates, but downtown you can get twirled around there. But it's fun.
no, it is fun. It is fun. And just even driving along Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard. It's in Hollywood, but they have, for a while there, I think it was once automobiles became more popular, it changed architecture, and a lot of restaurants, their architecture would be whatever that diner is. And so
Hmm.
um, Tail O the pup, like Tail O the pup. So
Hmm.
it's the shape of like there's a big hot dog on the outside, and then the
Cool.
building itself is like right underneath and behind it. So that's kind of a fun place to go to.
That I saw that and it's fun. That's the kind of thing. That's what I'm nostalgic for those things because that
Yeah.
is nostalgia, I know, but it's like we need to have more fun with what we're doing in buildings these days. I think we need to go back to that personally.
No, it is kind of fun. It's cute and it stands out. The same, there's in North Hollywood, there's one called the Hour, and it's in the shape of like a whiskey barrel.
Oh,
Uh,
that's what I saw. That was good. That was on my list to ask you about because that
oh,
is super cool. Yeah.
yeah. And so they have drinks, and you can also eat there on, I think just on weekends. I'm not sure about the hours right now, but that's another fun place. Kind of quirky, fun.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing when you go on a road trip, you can either do like the picnics in the park somewhere really cool or on the beach or, in the forest, like you're talking about, or you go to these really cute, different restaurants. I think that's part of the adventure is to go to some place unique that's obviously thought about what they're doing. you know?
Oh yeah, very intentional. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And,
some
you know,
creativity.
it's always a good idea to check their hours and times because I
Hmm.
just feel like ever since the pandemic, sometimes hours have changed or been shortened. So that's something I always do ahead of time is make sure a place is open so I don't show up at a museum on a Tuesday and realize, oh, they're closed Mondays and
Hmm.
Tuesdays, you know. Um,
Yeah, agreed, agreed. And I think that's with anything now because of weather, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening in the world. It's always good to check before you go, or just go there and find something else, and have that adventure. But it's good to check, especially if you're driving somewhere with a lot of distance. One thing too, I like that you were talking about people should look at, some tips, planning tips. Is to get, like, if you're going to go to the forest, get the Forest Service like pass so that you can get out the
exactly.
car and do that. So you got to remember, it's kind of free, but it's not if you're starting to go hiking and things like that. It's like your national park pass for Santa Monica, that kind of thing too.
Right. Yeah. Once you park, you
And
should,
Santa Monica National Recreation Mountains, I should say, not just Santa
right.
Monica. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing for Angeles National Forest. You know, you need to
Hmm.
have you can either buy the annual pass or just, for the day. But
Hmm.
just real quickly, I wanted to bring up because one of my favorite places in LA County is the Huntington
Oh
Library
yeah.
in San Marino, and that's very historic. And that would also be fun for, I mean, anyone to go. I go there just on my own when I just feel like getting away, and sometimes I'll spend most of the time in the gardens, other times, in the
Mhm.
art gallery, but that has great history. And so I think it's a really good place for families. And um, I just recently, they actually shortened their name from the Huntington Library, Art Museum and Gallery to the Huntington.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but that change came after my book was published. So
Oh, see, look at that. Look at that. It's so, yeah, it happens. You could never, it's just, that's the hard thing about books, man, unless you're fiction.
I
It's
know
like
things
reality
change.
keeps changing. But I think what's great about that in a positive way is you're documenting what was there at that time. I want to go back in old magazines because we can in the digital world that we're in and go, well, this isn't there anymore. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're actually preserving what was there at that time.
Hmm.
That's some history. So I think that's a beauty of not being able to fix things all the time. You just
Yeah.
have to write an updated version next year.
Yes. Well, hopefully enough books sell so that I'm able to do that.
Well, everyone, did you hear that? Help the updates. Well, but you're also working on another two. So you got two out. So history is all touched on this, but what's next?
So the one I already started is about Ventura, which,
Very
as I
cool.
know, you know where it is. It's between LA and Santa Barbara counties, and so it's just this beautiful coastal area. That book is 100 Things to Do in
Oh, it's
Ventura.
through Reedy Press too. Yeah.
These are all Reedy Press.
Oh, okay. Reedy Press. Check them out, man. You go.
Yeah.
Well, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. Is it one of those, that
It's one
series?
of those. It's one of those.
Awesome, awesome,
Yep.
awesome. Yeah, well, Ventura's got, like, you talk about history, Native American history. You got the Channel Islands. Are you going to touch into Oxnard and that
Oh yeah.
area
Oh yeah.
too?
I am definitely.
Ojai a little bit or no?
And Ojai. Yes, I love
Okay.
Ojai. So I
I
want to
just did
include
an
that.
interview on Ojai, so I have to ask you on it. There's olive oil there and
Yes.
flowers and
You can
art.
go you can go olive oil tasting, and I have done it
Mhm.
there in Ojai, and so that's a lot of fun. So I will include that. And then the fourth
The
one,
missions. Oh, that's the one thing. The missions. You've got the El Camino Real in your book because the
yeah,
El Camino Real is like, that's something, it's the missions. I mean, going all the way up, that's something that people really should know about California is, going through, and Ventura is part of that trail, isn't it?
it is.
So,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And through Santa Barbara, I don't know how far up north, but yeah, it's quite a long trail. Um,
I think it goes all the way to San Juan Bautista near Hollister, just south. Well, San Francisco may
that's
have some
right. Yeah,
missions.
yeah.
I
Well, I
don't
will
know.
find out when I make that road trip I was telling you about for the fourth
Mhm.
book, Secret Pacific Coast Highway. And I can include more of that type of information, I think with the missions
Mm.
in there. So that'll be
Oh,
fun.
cool. The Secrets on Pacific Coast Highway is so fascinating. There's so much history. I mean, and the beauty, that's what's so cool about what you're doing is you got nature and history all together on
It's
all
fun
of
to
these.
combine it that way. And ironically, growing up, it's not even like I was a history buff. And then just I think part of it is once I became a mom and I wanted my kids to see history up close more. Um, but especially once I was researching the first book, Oldest LA, and I was just kind of amazed at how much history we actually do have here in LA County. Um,
Oh my gosh, you got oil, the tar pits and everything, right?
so much, that we almost take for granted, but that's
Yeah, it
why,
was agricultural land at one point that people forget about too.
yeah.
There was farms and ranches out there. There
Oh,
still
yeah.
are, but it's just different,
Yeah.
you know.
It's fun to look at old photos from like 100 years ago and how much it's all changed.
Have you been to the flower market?
I
Have,
have.
I've always wanted to go to the flower market for some
Yeah,
reason.
in downtown LA. I have that in my first book, so I did go there. They actually have parking at the flower market, which is what I would recommend because we ended up taking for that book, we ended up taking the Metrolink from Santa Clarita down to Union Station. Union Station is historic in itself, and then we walked to the flower market, which is doable. Um, but I would when I go again, I would just park there because they have plenty of parking. I think it's just,
Okay.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful and definitely worth going to. Lots of
Oh,
flowers.
cool. Well,
Smells
we
good.
like flower power. It's spring, y'all. It's flower power time. I
That's
like
right.
it. I like it. Well, Mimi, it has had a pleasure having you on the show. I'm glad you're writing more books because it's been fun going through this one, and we're going to be using it. Everyone, again, Historic Los Angeles Roadsides, again by Reedy Press, and you go to Mimi Slawoff, and that is Mimi Mimi, and it's SLAWOFF.com. The link is in the episode notes, and you can also follow Mimi on Instagram at Mimi's Travels. Thank you so much. It's been super fun. I want to go road tripping. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to Big Blend's Road Trip Radio Show. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. And for travel articles, road trip articles, go to blendradioandtv.com and nationalparktraveling.com. Happy travels!